There is something we all do, and it is killing the clarity of your song. Now, it's okay. I've been doing this myself for years before I figured out how terrible it was, so I want to make sure I pass that on to you today. Now, if you use Reverb, raise your hand. If you have trouble making the Reverb work, also raise your hand. Okay, cool. That's pretty much everybody. So first, let me show you an example of it, and then I want to show you why this Reverb is not working. So take a listen.
Holding hands in LA all night.
Now, on the surface, that sounds pretty good. I'm not going to just obviously discount that. I mean, Leah's incredible. This is Leah Farrington's voice, by the way, for a forthcoming song, Safer Now, coming soon, I think. So while the reverb sounds good at the start, the biggest thing that people are not considering is the EQ spectrum of their reverb. So let me show you really quick, because right here I'm using Verb Suite Classics, which is a large hall setting right now, and it is a pretty solid reverb, but they have these EQ functions and they don't always cover everything we need to sculpt our sound, because the mistake is we often are leaving too much low and high end in our reverb, so it sounds artificial, it sounds processed, and it sounds kind of unclear. So check this out.
Holding hands in LA all night.
It sounds big and full, but it's almost too cloudy. That reverb is so heavy, and we could use the EQ functions in a lot of the reverbs we see. Like we have an EQ high, low cut here. We have a low cut here in little play. We have it here in our verb with the EQ right here. But I want to show you using it here because I think it's a consistent visual, so it is available in most plugins. But you can see reverb essentially below 300 is gonna be really ghosty and full.
Holding hands in LA all night.
That's a lot of low-end material that's gonna ruin your song, because that should be taken up by guitars, by heavier synths, by piano, by bass, by kick, that's right where your snare is gonna be resonating, and it's gonna be covered up by a ton of reverb tail going on. So the trick that I like to do to solve this cloudy reverb issue is to go ahead and take the band, and I always want to look at my EQ spectrum, and then I'm going to try cutting down the lowest fundamental of the note in the reverb.
Hands in LA all night.
So for her, it's about 200 hertz. For the gents, might be a bit lower. And then I'm going to go ahead and just cut some of that out, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same on the high end. Now, you could use a filter or a band for this. Either one's fine. It's not really going to make a difference. I just like to use this because it allows me to kind of find that top point that's maybe a little harsh and digital sounding. So once I've cut out the bottom end, I'm going to go ahead and cut out part of the top to round it out and get rid of that digital sizzle, because that's the other end of this.
Holding hands in LA all night.
Real spaces don't sound like that. So if you want a real organic, rich sounding reverb, we can't have a bunch of reverb going on. And when you have a super poppy, bright vocal, that's often what we're dealing with, right? So we have to make sure to counteract that and darken it so it sounds a bit more natural. So check this out.
Holding hands in LA all night. Holding hands in LA all night.
Without these filters?
Holding hands in LA all night.
With.
Holding hands in LA all night.
Now, I want you to pay attention to a couple of things. Again, when I'm doing this, I'm probably going for a pretty aggressive cut. So anywhere from 4 to 10 dB of reduction at that main point is what I'm looking for, whether it's a bell or an actual filter like that, and then a filter like this. Either one's fine. I want to make sure that I'm getting probably around a 4 to 10 dB cut, depending on how extreme we want it to be.
Holding hands in LA all night.
And what this does as well is pay attention to how much the vocal comes forward. It doesn't sound masked, because without the reverb,
holding hands in LA all night.
That same reverb amount, now with all the frequency range, almost sounds like it's overpowering the vocal as opposed to with it
holding
on.
Hands in LA all night.
So it's a great way. Again, it makes the vocal come forward. It clears up a bunch of frequency crap that we don't need. That low end is going to ruin the density and thickness of your mix. And the digital top end is a really clear giveaway that you're using a digital space, which, let's face it, we all are. But why are we going to make it so easy to know that we're doing that when we could help out by doing this instead? So I hope this was helpful. This is one of those really quick things that everybody seems to be doing. And if you enjoyed this video, I want you to go out there and use it, and make sure to subscribe and like the video so I know for the future to make more like this. Thanks so much. Remember, you're just one song away. Cheers.